Okay, points to ponder, chapter 4. What is the main theme of the fourth chapter? Is it Jnana Yoga or is it Karma Yoga? Can somebody say?
It's
Jnana
karma,
Yoga.
jnana yoga, jnana.
Yes.
Jnana Yoga.
Yeah. Even though it's called Jnana Karma Sannyasa, it is out and out a topic on a topic on Jnana Yoga because it's using jnana to burn karma. So it's karma was very in detail was covered in part of the second and the third chapters. There, Bhagavan doesn't talk much about jnanam, but here very clearly it is the knowledge which is emphasized. So this is a chapter on Jnana Yoga. Then, what is the meaning of Jnana Karma Sannyasa? So alphabets, there's so many words here. There's sannyasa, there's jnana, there's karma. So what's the meaning?
Going inwards with knowledge, as a full renunciate.
Yeah. So the exact definition is inner renunciation of actions through knowledge. That is the meaning. So it doesn't mean, okay, sannyasis, the whole idea of sannyasa, they renounce all societal actions, no families, no children to take care of. They don't even have to work for a living. They just live on alms. That is external renunciation. They don't have fancy clothes, just one saffron or one set of saffron robes. That's it. There's external renunciation. But Bhagavan says, you don't have to do all that. You can just live your householder life and internally renounce the actions, which means it is the understanding that you are not the actor. What's acting is the gunas. You will have to interact with the world, but acting, but the sakshi is the witness. When you are the witness, then you don't get meshed up. So there is in Buddhism, there in the Goenka tradition, vipassana. For those who attend a vipassana meditation retreat, you would know about it. So uh, there is you can express your frustration or anger, or you can suppress it. Expression, suppression. Between the two, there's a healthy intermediate called observation, sakshi tattva. So this is actually very, very, very important concept. When a kid does mischief, you can yell at the kid, or you can completely ignore, let the kid do anything it wants. The third alternative, what some parents do, is just observe. Just look at the kid, fully know, and you know what the kid is doing. The kid will stop doing the mischief. This is the observation. So here, what it means is that if you get enmeshed into the mind, then you're caught. You go with the sway. But if you're able to maintain the distance, be a witness, because you are not the mind. The mind is just the cinema theater screen. The you is the sakshi tattvam. It is the witness. It's called the sakshi, witness. That's the atma. Even as the mind goes, the atma will continue to be there. So the mind is like a movie theater screen. It's shining because of the light from this sakshi tattvam. And all the film that's going in, that is the senses. And sometimes it rewinds all the sense what you've seen, it rewinds and you replay it during the dreams. So it's the screen, previously they used to have these reels, right? This big movie. So the reel is going, that's all the senses, whatever is fed. The light is the one which there's a big light, right, in cinema theaters. So these films, it'll project onto the screen. And that's exactly what's happening in the mind. Mind is like a movie theater screen with all the sounds, images constantly happening. The light, the witness, that is just projecting. It's because of the light everything is happening. Okay, it's because of this energy that those reels move, the screen is lit and everything. So one doesn't have to wear a saffron robe. One can perform actions with the knowledge that it is the ahankara, which is the doer. But Atma is the enlivening principle and the witness that I am the Atma. This is called inner renunciation of actions through knowledge. The principle is similar to the operation of a fan. Fan provides movement of air because of the way it's constructed. Light bulb provides light because of the way it's constructed. Similarly, we also have some tendencies. So, but the electricity that enlivens the bulb and the fan, that has nothing to do with the gunas. It's just a pure electricity, like that Sakshi Tattvam. That is the real you. The rest all will perish. That is not you. That will be there when we die. That's gone. So we transact with the world in a way depending on our gunas. But I, the Atma, is not the doer. And when you have this distinction, your transaction will go much better. That's what Bhagavan is trying to say. So this is considered a very important chapter. And what prompted Bhagavan to describe the topic of Jnana Karma Sannyasa? Anybody wants to say?
Arjuna wanted to take sannyasa, so he wanted to show him that he can be in the world and still renounce.
Correct. So the entire thing is Arjuna keeps asking, oh, I want to go to the forest and take sannyasa. And Krishna preempts his mind, because what will Arjuna's next question be? In the 4th chapter, if Krishna had not started this, Arjuna will say, okay, Krishna, you are saying jnana is the means to moksha, but you are suggesting a lifestyle of grihastha karma yoga where I have little time for knowledge because I'm working. How it's so conflicting? You're saying only jnana gives moksha, but you're saying take up grihastha lifestyle. To clarify that, Bhagavan says, yes, do your actions, but with the knowledge behind. So it's jnana, karma, sannyasa. That's why Krishna started from Bhagavan. He knew Arjuna will give every excuse to run away from the battlefield. So preemptively, Bhagavan does this. What are the 3 topics covered in chapter 4? Anybody wants to say? What are the 3 topics in chapter 4?
So is that jnana, karma, and sannyasa, or?
No. So the 3 chapters, so every chapter has certain topics, right? Bhagavan doesn't say, okay, now we're to topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. Sometimes in 6th chapter, we'll see it is completely jumbled everywhere. But for us to kind of make sense, we have to organize it. So the 3 chapter topics are avatara. It's an incidental topic. Then the main topic of jnana karma sannyasa. And having talked about jnana yoga, Bhagavan talks about the means to get this knowledge, jnana sadhana and jnana phala, the fruits of this knowledge. So this is how the chapter is organized. And is the Bhagavad Gita a new teaching of Bhagavan Krishna? This we've seen many times before. Anybody wants to say?
It is a condensation of what the Vedas have already said,
Yes.
restating.
Yeah. So Bhagavan very clearly says that in shlokas 1, 2, and 3. So he says that imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham apyayam vivasvan manave praha manur ikshvakave pravit. I taught this long time ago. Okay, see you, Anjana. And it was got forgotten. It's handed down in a traditional manner, and the same ancient yoga has been told to you by me today because you are my devotee and friend. So in slokas 1, 2, 3, he says that. Now, with that, for the first 5 questions, I will stop. Okay, so we are doing the points to ponder. And in the last class, we covered the first 5 questions. And we left with, is the Bhagavad Gita a new teaching of Krishna? And the answer is most certainly no. Then we will move on to the sixth question. So the Bhagavad Gita is a collection of topics from the Upanishad. So Krishna very clearly makes it known that in the shlokas 4.1 to 4.3 that it is ancient teaching which sakalena mahata, over due to the long passage of time it's been forgotten, so he's trying to revive it. So the sixth question: what are the differences between human birth, which is called Manushya Janma, and Ishvara's Avatara? Anybody wants to answer? Nobody wants to answer?
I would say Manushya Janma, of course, involves karma. And so more of the karma yoga than the jnana yoga. So
No, Manushya Janma involves Jnana Yoga. That's the whole point.
okay,
To get liberated.
yeah, eventually,
So,
yeah, that's true.
yeah, the main thing is Ishvara comes in because of jnana. It is Ishvara knows that it is the supreme consciousness and it's coming for a purpose. Whereas we, on the other hand, since we don't know the difference between the Purusha and Prakriti, we've not actualized the difference, we have not internalized, because of this ajnana, we keep taking birth. So it's a very important point. Ishvara's avatar involves jnana. Jiva, janma, is from ajnana, or the ignorance. So we talk about Ishvara's descent. Ishvara walks down, whereas jivas fall into birth. The second important point is Ishvara acts from a state of liberation. Though Ishvara is it's in a human body, the Ishvara acts from a state of liberation, whereas we act from a state of bondage. We think we are the body, not knowing this Atma is indestructible. It is ancient, unchanging, vast. It's like a wave. The wave is water. It's part of the giant ocean. Like that, Atma is part of the consciousness that pervades the entire universe. The Lord continues to be liberated because of the knowledge. So, Nitya Mukta Swarupaha, always Nitya, always Muktaha, liberated Swarupa of nature. The Jiva experiences bondage, Baddha Swarupa, bound, bondage, nature. So, Jiva Shariram is Bhautika Shariram, Ishvara Shariram is Maika Shariram. Bhautika is from the elements, right? So there are all these five elements from that. The Jiva Shariram comes, whereas Ishvara comes straight from Maya, which is like energy, the one level above before the universe started, there was only Maya and consciousness. Ishvara's Shariram comes straight from that Maya. Then the third is the purpose of arrival. Jiva continues to exhaust the prarabdha karma. Ishvara there's no karma involved. Ishvara comes to uplift the world. So this is emphasized in verse 7. Okay. So what is the best way to divide a society for allocation of duties for the harmonious functioning? So we saw the one way to divide the society is based on the 4 ashramas, 4 stages of life. There's brahmacharya, grihastha, then there's vanaprastha, there's all that, right? So that's one way. Other is based on task duties. So what's the best way to divide a society for allocation of duties for the harmonious functioning of the society? Anybody wants to answer?
I think I know that answer.
Yeah, tell me.
It's based on each person's personal traits, like personal gunas.
Yes. So that is the best way to divide a society based on the gunas. But unfortunately, a person, for example, somebody who's very skilled in administration may be doing something else. And somebody who's very skilled in trade, they, if somebody who's very skilled in trade, because of some reason, they become a teacher, that person, well, the only aim would be to make money. Or somebody who's like a skilled physician, um, um, or somebody who wants to make money becomes a physician, then that person would, the only thing that the person wants to do is maximize um, their income. So gunas is the right way to divide, but unfortunately, because somebody is born elsewhere or things like that, they may be doing other professions for which they don't have the perfect gunas. They may still be okay. For example, a person who's born to somebody with a certain profession, like sometimes you find the parents are doctors and the child also takes up the profession because they've been exposed to that all the time, even though that may not be the best fit. So the division can be based on gunas the right way, then it can be based on karma's occupation, and it can also be based on your birth, jati. So these are how it's could be divided. But the best way is based on your innate nature. Okay, and that's also one reason in ancient times, so the brahmanas who were supposed to teach this to others, they were not supposed to have a lot of wealth. If a Brahmin had a lot of wealth, then the Brahmin would be more worried about preserving the wealth than about spreading knowledge. So yoga kshemam, so which is acquiring and preserving, that's a big task in itself. And they wouldn't have the right frame to disperse knowledge. So that's why it was in the previous olden days, they never had much money. They were taken care of by the society, but they were never very wealthy. 4.18 is called a Granthi Shloka, or a naughty verse, not K-N-O-T, like a rope knot. What is the meaning behind a naughty verse in the Mahabharata? Why were these naughty verses dispersed throughout the Bhagavad Gita and also in the Mahabharata? Anybody?
That also I remember you explaining.
Yeah, tell me.
This is so that the author, like Vyasa, could take breaks because I think I might be mistaken here, but Ganesha said he can write as long as Vyasa doesn't pause.
Yes.
So
That's the condition to which he agreed upon. Very good.
and then I think so he will say, I will narrate as long as you understand, or something like that. So
Yes.
here and there he gives complicated, complex shlokas so that.
Yes. Yeah, Granthi means a knotted verse. So that's exactly right. So Vyasacharya wanted a narrator. So he asks Ganesha, and Ganesha says, yes, I will be your scribe. So Vyasacharya was the narrator. He wanted a scribe to write down everything. So Ganesha agreed to be the scribe under one condition, that Vyasacharya should not stop. And he wrote 100,000 verses. And that's no easy task. He was an old man. He needed to take a pause, right? A big breath sometimes. So Vyasacharya, being a genius, he created these naughty verse that he dispersed throughout the Mahabharata. And so that Ganesha, and Vyasacharya's condition was Ganesha should understand everything before his counter condition, before he writes down. Ganesha agreed, and he interspersed these naughty verses during which Ganesha will think a little, and that time Vyasacharya would take a deep breath. So you find this throughout the Mahabharata. So 4.18 is one such verse. it talks about inaction and action. What is the meaning of inaction and action, and also action and inaction? Anybody wants to say? Anybody? Okay. Inaction in action refers to the Atma. So the Atma is the Sakshi. Atma does not do any action. It does not instigate. Atma is like the electricity. It enlivens but does not cause action. Action is caused by the gunas. Gunas is how the makeup of the object. So object is like the mind-body complex. Like a bulb, when you pass electricity through the bulb, it'll glow and provide light. When you pass electricity through a fan, it will rotate, produces air, wind. So similarly, Atma, a robber, Atma enlivens the same person. A very generous social worker, also Atma enlivens. The robber robs, does all kinds of bad things. The social worker helps people. It's the same. It's like that. It's like electricity. Atma just enlivens. It is the sakshi. It is the consciousness. It's a little more complicated than electricity because it has consciousness. It is able to it perceive things. But Atma itself does not do any actions. It is the gunas that do the actions. And the gunas, it is from our karma, it carries on. It's like, so the next level people get confused is then they start associating with the Sukshma Shariram. But the Sukshma Shariram, it's like a cloth. Like the cloth has some, it's like a sweater. It's designed to do something. And after death, it's like this sweater comes neatly, all the holes, everything is repaired, and it comes neatly in a fresh form. But still a sweater. It then goes on to the Atma, ever-pervading consciousness, then illumines this thing, and the whole process continues. But a sweater remains a sweater like that. But you can put different colors, you can stitch it differently, do all that during the lifetime. But it's still an inanimate sweater. It is the Atma that provides the consciousness. Like that, the Sukshma Shariram, the one which has the imprints, it doesn't have chaitanyam, it doesn't have consciousness, just like a sweater. So think of this, I'm wearing this sweater, and next life, so it's all at the end of the life, it's all broke, torn, everything happens. And then the next lifetime, it goes to a dry cleaning shop, tailor, all it's neatly stitched and comes back like fresh. So I continue, the sweater is worn, and the electricity in the grid like that, the Atma, the Brahman continues to illumine that. And finally, in this mind-body complex, when you realize that it's just the sweater, inanimate thing, then you see that there's a different thing called the Atma, or the electricity. Then the sweater no longer needs to go to the dry cleaning shop, and it goes away. Yes, Lataji.
So I still struggle with this idea, like in the sense to align with the notion. You gave an example of a robber and a social worker. Now, robber, I don't consider them as that, how should I say, evil. But let's say there's someone who's a murderer or somebody who did really bad. How can we align the fact that it is the same Atma, or the same force that is in both people? Or how can we respect the other Atma? I've always wondered, but how do we come to agreement with that when we
Yeah.
know obviously someone did something wrong?
Yeah. So weapons of mass destruction sometimes are powered by electricity. The same electricity is used for good things. So that's the example. Atma, it's just the Chaitanyam. It is all the karma imprints from the previous generation, Janma, that has come in, and this person does this in this lifetime, and the murderer, then they go to Naraka lokas. That's how the scriptures describe. So in Naraka, they won't get fresh punya or papa. So we'll see that in later chapters. It's very exhaustively explained. It's only in Manusha Janma you can get punya and papa. Where if you have a lot of bank balance, good bank balance, then you go to the higher worlds, the Swarga lokas. There are different Swarga lokas, right? So 7 or 6 Swarga, and then they exhaust all that. It's like staying in a resort, and then everything is great, but after some time, all the punya is exhausted, you come back. Similarly, the Narakaloka, you go exhaust all the papam, and you come back to Manushaloka, and from here, you get liberation. I mean, there are other ways to get liberation from Brahmaloka. We'll see that in the 8th chapter. Okay. Then the other example is like the mighty wind doing a lot of action, ever resides in space, which does no action. Yata kashastito nityam vayur sarvatra go mahan tatha sarvani bhutani matstani upadharaya. The mighty wind, just as the mighty wind, Mahan, going everywhere, rests in space, so do all beings reside in me, the consciousness, is what Bhagavan says. Then action, in action, it's the potential energy. Even when the body is still, there are thoughts in the mind. Thoughts are the basis for action. So the mind-body complex is never free from action. Don't think, Krishna tells Arjuna, by sitting somewhere in a cave or a forest, you think you're free from actions. No, the mind, it's breeding thoughts for future action. So that is the meaning. It's a very important shloka. Then 10th, over the period of the study of Vedanta, how does one's understanding of I evolve? The I, capital I, whatever it means to different people. Anybody wants to tell this? Evolution of the understanding of I. So unfortunately, the link I have there is not correct. So when people start studying, this is the superpower. In general, all the yoga texts are Vedanta. A slight difference between yoga and Vedanta. Yoga follows the Sankhya philosophy. Slight difference. But this is the superpower. First, stage 1, we think, before we start studying the Bhagavad Gita, we think we are the body. If something, a scratch happens to the body, we are so worried, like a face, there's a scratch, oh, I look so ugly now. So we're all worried about that. Then we realize, oh, there is a consciousness in my body. So there is something other than this. There's something superior in this, my body. There's my body. So it's still, then you're kind of a little distant. So there's something superior. So my body is inferior. So I don't have to worry so much. Let me focus on that consciousness. Still, there's a distinction between consciousness and the my. Then stage 3, excuse me. I am the consciousness, different from the body. And I am the same consciousness in all bodies. Think about this for a second. So this is where the superpower comes. I am no longer the body. I am separate. I am consciousness. Body is like a sweater. That's all. Vasansi jirnani yata vihaya navani grannati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani sanyati navani dehi. The dehi, embodied one, just as a worn out cloth is thrown out, it just, after this body has done its purpose, it goes, takes a new body. So I But the I, it refers to the consciousness. Body, it's the body-mind complex is just like the sweater, inert. I am the consciousness. That is what is enlivening everything. Okay? And then the final thing, this could be hard for many people to swallow. Consciousness alone is the ultimate truth. The material world evolved and it does not exist separately from consciousness. So this is actually considered the superpower of study. Why we study yoga texts or Vedanta. The whole idea is to create this distinction so that we don't get enmeshed in the thoughts and the self-identification. And the yoga states that causes of all suffering is the identification, the notion that I'm the body. Okay. What is the meaning of shloka 4.24? Brahma, it's a very famous shloka, very, very, very famous. Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhinaha. Can anybody say the meaning of this? Okay, I'll tell the answer. Like I said, consciousness alone is the ultimate truth. Brahma, so this talks about a yajna, right? So we saw that the entire world was set in motion with this concept of yajna, that is doing something for a higher cause, benefiting other beings while also benefiting us. So here, in those times, they did a lot of yajnas. So Krishna uses the example of yajna and says, the offering is the yajna, the fire into which it's offered is, offering is the Brahman, the fire into which it's offered is the Brahman, and the person offering is the Brahman. So everything is Brahman. The material world evolved and does not exist separately from consciousness, Brahman. So this is like the highest level of where, so Krishna mentioned this one or in one more place, only in two places in the entire Bhagavad Gita. This is Upanishadic level thinking. Swami Paramatmananda says, Krishna just mentions here and he touches it, I believe in the 13th or the 9th chapter. But this is the material you find in the Upanishads, that everything evolved from Brahman. Okay. What is the meaning of the word yajna?
Worship.
Hmm?
I think you said worship, maybe.
Yeah, yaj, literally the word means
sacrifices.
worship, correct. Yajna means offering something into the symbolic or actual fire as worship to attain higher goals while sacrificing lower comforts. Okay, so it also has to, higher goals means benefiting others too for the larger good of the society while sacrificing lower comforts. So the symbolism here is offering something into the fire. It can be actual fire or a symbolic fire. Okay, and what does yajna symbolize? Anybody wants to say? You can look at the answer and say. It's okay.
So fire is burning away, things that don't serve you, right? Any energies. So fire symbolizes, in the heat, the fire is the burning away of energies of the mind, you can say, or
Yes, correct. So yajna symbolizes the destruction of the maladies of the mind and the body using the heat. It's called tapas, right? From, for example, the fire of knowledge. There's so many different yajnas, right? We've seen that, or the yoga practice, respectively. So That's the fire symbolizes that into which everything is just the bad things are burnt away, and you're offering, and the body, we saw that in Hatha Yoga Pradipika, body is like a clay pot. So by heating it in the fire of yoga, so when you hear clay pot, it'll just, fresh made clay pot, you drop it, it'll just squish and just it's gone. But you bake it in fire, it becomes strong. Like that, the body is baked in fire to make it strong. So yajna symbolizes that thing which destroys the maladies and makes the body strong and pure, like forging a metal. Okay. Now, of the 12 yajnas what Krishna describes, which does he consider the best and why? Anybody wants to answer this? You can look at the answer.
Gnana Yoga is the
Yes,
Gnana Yagna, the knowledge is the
correct. Of the 12 yajnas, Krishna considers Jnana Yajna to be the best. This is because, why is that? Sarvam karma kilam pata jnane parisamapyate shreyan. So he says, Dravyamayat yajnat jnana yajna parantapa. Better than these yajnas performed with other things, like Dravyamayat means using materials. It can also be the breath. All that are great, but are giving donations to the poor. Knowledge is the most supreme thing. Because why is that? The fruit of knowledge is infinite, because you get moksha. The fruits of all other things, health, everything is great, but still finite. So infinite encompasses everything. That's why Jnana Yajna is considered the most supreme. Very good. What are the benefits of this knowledge of the Atma? So the entire fourth chapter is Jnana Karma Sannyasa. It is renunciation of actions internally through knowledge. So what are the benefits of this? Anybody wants to say? So Krishna gives 5 benefits. Mohanashaha, benefits of Atmanyanam, or internal conflicts from attachment and delusion gets removed. We're constantly in this state, right? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do this? Should I do that? So all that is removed. There's clarity. This itself is a big benefit. Should I go vacation in that place and spend more money, or should I do something cheaper? All these questions we have, right? So it gives clarity of understanding. So mohanashaha, jivatma paramatma aikya darshanam, oneness in all jivas and paramatma. So you see the equality among all creatures. So that is Krishna, he says that's a big benefit. Then papa nashanam, destruction of all sins. Then sarva karma nashaha, not just papam, punyam also. Because if you get punyam, what happens? You go to Swarga Loka, you stay there, and then like snakes and ladders, we saw, you come back to earth. And then if you come back to earth, we can be in situations where we'll commit a mistake and it'll prolong the process. So we keep going into the cycle of births and deaths. So sarva karma nasha means karma means karma phalam here. Both punyam and papam will be destroyed through the knowledge. So this is a very a tricky thing. We've covered this before. The Bharata, the king, he gets attached to a deer. He's trying to do a good thing, but because of this attachment to the deer, he's born. He's thinking about the deer when he dies, and because of that, he's born as a deer in the next birth. And it continues like that. And because he can only get liberated from in animal janma, so according to our shastra, in animal and plant janmas, you don't acquire fresh punya papam. You're just exhausting. It's only in manusya janma you acquire fresh punyam and papam. Similarly, in deva janma, like you become these celestials, you don't acquire fresh punyam papam. You only exhaust. Then finally, shantihi, peace. You get infinite peace. What are the negative traits that prevent gaining of this knowledge? Anybody wants to answer? negative traits. So negative traits are ajna, ignorance about the knowledge of the Atma, ashraddha, lack of faith. Those who criticize or do all that, that's lack of faith. Asking questions is a different thing. That is actually encouraged. So Krishna very clearly says that with the pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So go find a teacher that with the pranipatena, bow down to the teacher, show humility. Pariprashnena, ask questions from all points of view. And sevaya, do serve the teacher. Then that teacher who has understood the knowledge of the Atma will impart it to you. So Shraddha is important, which means having faith. Doesn't mean blindly accepting. Ask questions, but some people come to criticize and put down the teacher. That is not, and Krishna says, anasuya, those who suyati, those who criticize, don't tell them the Bhagavad Gita or the scriptures. It's not worth it. Then samshaya, doubt. Doubt is the biggest problem in Buddhism. Okay. So with that, we've covered all the 16 questions. So we've done a summary of this 4th chapter.